Hey guys! So, in conditions due to the coronavirus pandemic and the rough world economic crisis, several countries are not only surviving well, but are setting excellent examples worthy of imitation. One such country is Kuwait, which continues to build cities and towns, modernize airports, and lay modern roads even with a sharp decrease in oil prices, which make up to 95% of its export. Kuwait is OPEC, and about 3% of the world's black gold comes from here. This country pumps out over 130 million tons of oil every year. The locals even joke that if they were to dig in the sand under their feet, oil would spring forth. The people seem to be swimming in oil, and they use that oil money. A great example is the construction of an unbelievable sea city. Now, the project was created by British engineers and is called the Miracle in the Desert. The city will be located not far from the Saudi border. The sea city Sabah al-Ahmad is next to the Persian Gulf coast, about 53 miles south of Kuwait. Now, the idea of building a completely new large city in the desert is far from new. It was first voiced in 1986 by builder Khalid Youssef Al-Marzouk. The entrepreneur even bought a large plot of land in the desert, but construction never began. In the 1990s, construction was delayed because of the Persian Gulf War. Hollywood can make an apocalyptic movie on how Kuwait became an independent oil-producing country, since 30 years ago, the Iraq Army, by order of Saddam Hussein, used oil as a weapon of mass destruction during the Persian Gulf War. This led to one of the scariest ecological catastrophes in modern history, where oil fields burned all across the country. Retreating to the north, Iraqi soldiers employed scorched earth tactics, exploding and burning all the oil towers, oil reservoirs, oil pipes, and oil processing factories. The site was reminiscent of hell on earth, according to witnesses. During the strongest fires, 6 million tons of oil burned daily. Tourists in the oil museum can hear about the damage caused to the environment and about the heroic people whose life goals were to put out the fires and restore the country's oil industry. Because of the burning oil fields, Kuwait saw a nuclear autumn. Because of the smoke, a large amount of sunlight didn't reach the ground, resulting in the period of February to October 1991 having a decrease in temperature of 18 degrees Fahrenheit compared to previous years. About 6 million tons of oil burned daily during the strongest fires, and over 80% of the large and small livestock belonging to Kuwaiti farmers died. History had never seen such large-scale fires in oil sources, and there is no operation similar in scale in extinguishing them. The Kuwaiti government used American companies, in addition to its own firefighters, to put out the fires. They were later joined by 25 other groups from Canada, Hungary, Iran, China, and France. Since the military operation was called Desert Storm, they called their mission Desert Hell. Now it's becoming clear how the Kuwaiti paid up for each oil dollar, and we're getting closer now to our time. So back in 2003, another attempt to restore construction of the Sea City was approved, but the Iraq War, which lasted until 2011, got in the way this time. By that time, Sheikh Al-Marzouk had already died, so his son Fawaz would need to bring his dream to life. He decided not to just bring it to life, but make it even better. The project included special tidal gates which let the sea get up to 6 miles into the city. That's how an ambitious, unique mega-project that must be seen to be believed was created in the deserts of southern Kuwait. Named in honor of the Kuwaiti head of state, the sea city Sabah al-Ahmad superseded any other living complex in the country's history, both in scale and technical complexity. For comparison, the internal territory the size of Manhattan Island gradually is turning into a flourishing coastal community. This was done thanks to an unbelievable engineering feat, which resulted in a vast network of water routes from the Persian Gulf being built. They now run deep into the land. The seawater's inflow turned the ecologically poor, hyper-sunny salt marsh into a huge coastal band with a sky blue sea with white sand. The Sea City is a construction with canals 124 miles long with an artificial coastline. The city was opened in mid-2015. The artificial islands that create the city were built by digging large canals in the desert. A world-class pier was created after the final stages for mooring yachts and sailboats, a favorite pastime for Kuwaitis, which is reflected in their national symbols and history. Now, according to the general director, we have made 4 piers for yachts, and the smallest is already the largest one in Kuwait. There are also 2,710 places that can take ships up to 131 feet long. Historically, there weren't enough spots for yachts, which held back the sale of ships. We solved that problem for the foreseeable future. Now, experts participated in the project from the onset and monitored it as well as invested their own effort into it to speed up colonization of the new water currents for the local flora and fauna. They also helped develop a general plan to provide ecological success. About 1,500 species of fish, crustaceans, birds, and other sea creatures have made these canals and the Sea City's coast their home. Mangrove trees and many saltwater plants were planted along the Sea City's coast to stabilize it and provide the environment with habitats for the new artificial ecosystem. This means making the desert greener, a dream which belongs to both the Kuwaitis and others who live on the Persian Gulf. So there are many experts that think that this project has all the chances to fail, since it's really hard to call Kuwait the ideal place for life. Nevertheless, Fawaz is very focused on continuing his father's work. The exact cost of the project is unknown. However, people close to the sheikh say he spent billions of dollars. And it's worth noting that the Sea City isn't the only project. Fawaz is sure that in the coming years, the city will be home to no less than 250,000 people. The main industries the city will live on will be oil drilling, trade, and fishing. He plans to open a large mall in the city for the world's wealthiest individuals and to therefore attract investors to the Sea City. Over 2,500 highly qualified workers from 20 countries who could handle the hot conditions worked on the project. Many of them came from India. The engineers noted that the amount of asphalt used would be enough to cover 703 soccer fields. And they used special asphalt that won't melt in the sun. 750 miles of electric cables provide power to the city. So there were 2 natural tidal creeks, and out of the 25 square miles of land used for the city, 50% of it is salt marshes. With an average range of just 6 feet for the tide, it was clear they would need to innovate for the system to have enough seawater circulation without an extremely costly pumping infrastructure. Detailed hydrodynamic models and evaluations of the tidal flushing characteristics let the team designers improve the system of water routes, resulting in the habitat on the coast washing itself naturally. Now, since this is all done due to the tides without any pumps, it doesn't require any additional energy sources. Along with the main city structure being on the coast, it was also necessary to create an environment with a complete engineering infrastructure, water bridges, and cleaning systems for the growing population. The developed infrastructure is sufficient to satisfy not only the early settlers, but also a fully prosperous community. Constant monitoring of water quality in Sabah Al Ahmad Sea City shows that there isn't much of a difference between the water in the system and the water in the Gulf, even at the edges of the system. Additionally, at first, the super salty rivers had barely any life in them, but they are now home to a very rich aquatic ecosystem that includes 5 newly discovered species of flora and fauna. Sabah Al Ahmad Sea City is a unique and attractive sea complex that combines local cultural traditions, eases up the harsh conditions of the environment using high-quality construction, and has a natural lagoon with tidal waters and a system of canals. It sets high standards for coastal projects in the Middle East and is the first coastal structure in the internal waters of Kuwait and is the largest in the Persian Gulf region. A new pulse for Kuwait. The largest coastal recreational tourism project made by Kuwait's private sector, is securing Kuwait's position as a regional trade and vacation center. The innovative sea mega project, helmed by the private sector, turned a wide area of salt marshes into an unbelievable coastal structure that is even more technically advanced than the artificial peninsulas created in Dubai. The sea city turned the desert into a beach instead of dumping millions of tons of material into the sea. The artificial water environment has a higher ecological stability since problems caused by rising sea levels are lessened. Additionally, the barren areas previously not suitable for use have now turned into accessible living spaces in a country that is fighting to satisfy the demand for housing for its own population. Well, that's all for today. Be sure to leave a like, comment, let me know what you learned in this. Would you live in this city? I would if I got, like a sweet seaside apartment or something. And we'll see you again next time.